So it's been 6 months since we set up the DIY above ground mini pond, so it's time for an update. So here we have the now 6-month-old DIY above ground mini pond. Now we set this up at the beginning of spring and we're now a little way into autumn, so the plants are beginning to die back a little. That being said though, everything has and is running pretty well. The 3 goldfish, Mo, Tom and Jerry, all seem both happy and healthy. The bog filter's all good and the canister pre-filter also continues to run well. The only problem I have had with the canister pre-filter is after I've done maintenance, it does sometimes struggle to prime and get going again, and I think that's because a canister filter is generally placed below an aquarium, which obviously helps with priming. Also, I don't think this big loop here helps, but other than that though, I've had no issues really, and I'm pleased with how it's all working. Now you may have noticed that the pond is currently a little green and a bit cloudy, and I'm not 100% sure what happened, but I was doing some maintenance a couple of weeks ago, mainly trimming back the pondweed, and in the process ended up stirring things up a bit, and usually when I do that, the next day it's back to crystal clear, but for some reason it's been a bit cloudy ever since, so what I've done is I've ordered some flocculant, which I'm hoping will help clear things up again. Saying that, I don't want to mess with it too much because it should clear up by itself. And the actual water chemistry is all good. I've tested and the ammonia, nitrite and nitrate are all at 0. So as far as the fish are concerned, they're perfectly happy. And I don't think they're really going to be too fussed by slightly cloudy water. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the plants have started to die back for the winter and I've already cut back the typha. But to be honest, in general, the bog plants haven't done that well. They've done alright, and there is like some new growth, and hopefully they'll do better next year now that the roots are properly established. But I think if I was to make this bog filter again, we'll try and make it a bit deeper so that the plants have a bit more room. Also, if it was to make it a bit deeper, I could also add a clean out valve similar to one that I added in the bog filter in my DIY patio pond build. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a card in the top right hand corner, because the bog filter I built for that was not only a bit deeper, it also did include a clean out valve, so I'd probably do something more like that if I was to do this build again. Now there are a couple of things that I have changed since the initial setup. Firstly, where the water flows back from the bog filter into the pond, when I set it up I had it so the water flowed directly into the outlet pipe, and I just used a few larger rocks to stop the smaller gravel from getting washed into the pond. What I've done now is I've added a small piece of PVC pipe with holes drilled in it, blocked at one end with a large stone, which completely stops any possibility of the small gravel getting washed down into the pond, which allowed me to also add a bit more gravel to the actual bog filter, to the point where there is no longer any standing water in the top of the bog, which I prefer, and it would be especially important if you live in an area where mosquitoes are a problem. One other small thing I have done is to make these little extension pipe things that I can put on the end of the outlet pipe if you want to reduce the splashing and noise, because someone did mention that when I film the pond it's difficult to see properly because of the splashing. So these can be easily added to reduce the splashing and then taken back off if I want to increase the aeration. The only other thing I've changed is the hosing that connects the canister filter to the bog filter, and that was because the hosing has started to kink, and even though it hadn't caused any issues with flow yet, I was pretty certain it would at some point. I definitely didn't want that point to be in the middle of winter, so I swapped it out for some proper pond hosing. I don't know why I didn't use proper pond hosing in the first place, and instead of just bending it into position I used little elbows, which was a bit of a tedious task, but going forward we now shouldn't have any kinking issues. It also made it look a lot neater. Now, I'm going to be doing a separate video on what I plan to do to winterise the pond, so make sure you are subscribed for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.